Once upon a time, there was a young couple named Emily and Tom who were driving home late at night after attending a friend's wedding. They were both exhausted and just wanted to get home as quickly as possible. As they were driving down a deserted road, they spotted a hitchhiker standing by the side of the road. The hitchhiker seemed lost and in need of a ride, so Emily and Tom decided to offer him a lift. The hitchhiker got into the back seat of the car, and they continued on their journey. At first, everything seemed fine, but as time passed, the hitchhiker became increasingly agitated and strange. He kept muttering to himself and would occasionally burst into fits of anger. Emily and Tom were getting worried and started to regret their decision to pick up the hitchhiker. As they drove on, the hitchhiker suddenly revealed a dark secret from his past. He had been involved in a terrible accident on that very same road years ago and had died at the scene. He had been wandering the road ever since, unable to find his way home. Emily and Tom were shocked to hear this and realized that they had been traveling with a ghost. The hitchhiker continued to grow more and more agitated, and they knew they had to find a way to get rid of him. They finally reached their destination, a small cabin in the woods, and the ghostly hitchhiker disappeared into the night. Emily and Tom were left shaken by their encounter and couldn't shake off the feeling that they were being watched. Days passed, and Emily and Tom tried to forget about their encounter with the ghostly hitchhiker. But strange things started to happen in the cabin. Objects would move by themselves, and they could hear strange noises coming from the woods outside. They finally decided to leave the cabin and return to their normal lives, but they knew they would never forget the ghostly hitchhiker and the terrifying encounter they had with him on that dark and deserted road. As they drove away from the cabin, Emily and Tom couldn't shake off the feeling that they were being followed. They kept looking back, but there was nothing there. However, as they reached the end of the road, they saw the ghostly hitchhiker standing in front of them. They tried to drive around him, but he disappeared and reappeared in front of the car. Panicked, they reversed the car and drove back to the cabin. They locked themselves inside and tried to come up with a plan. As they sat in the living room, they heard strange noises outside the cabin. It sounded like someone was trying to get in. Emily and Tom realized that they were trapped, and the ghostly hitchhiker was not going to let them go. In a moment of bravery, Tom decided to confront the ghostly hitchhiker. He walked out of the cabin and saw the hitchhiker standing in the middle of the road. Tom tried to reason with him, but the hitchhiker was beyond reason. He was consumed by anger and hatred, and he wanted revenge. In a desperate move, Tom reached out and touched the hitchhiker. As soon as he did, the hitchhiker disappeared, and Tom collapsed to the ground. When he opened his eyes, he was back in the car with Emily. They looked at each other in confusion, wondering what had just happened. As they continued their journey, they couldn't help but feel that they had been given a second chance. They had narrowly escaped the clutches of the ghostly hitchhiker, and they knew they would never forget that night for as long as they lived.